evening. So, if you've ever ran a race, which most of us have, you'll know that there are different things to consider about running a race. Some might be like how hot it is outside or how far of a distance you have to run. These are just some things to consider when running a physical race. But when running a spiritual race, there are different things to think about. What I want to talk about tonight is your endurance during your spiritual race. When we think of a race, just a regular old-fashioned foot race, in our minds, we're probably picturing some sort of path with runners. We might be picturing different races though. Here's two examples. First, maybe you picture a runner on an easy path, running a good, steady pace, balanced breathing, shoulders back, head high, just moving right along. Or, do you envision a much different race? One where the runner is sweaty, red-faced, holding their side, trying to get air, and looking to see how much further there is to go. These two runners are enduring the race much differently now, aren't they? Eventually, they reach the same finish line, but their endurance during the race was very different. Our goal is to run our spiritual race just like the first runner. One way to help us endure better is by helping each other. In 2021, there was a marathon in New York City. A runner fell a mere 650 feet from the finish line. He simply just couldn't go any further. But a runner came along. He stopped, took a hold of his arm, and helped him up. Then another runner came. He stopped and took a hold of his other arm. Galatians 6:9, it says, "But let us not grow weary while doing good, for in due season we shall reap if we do not lose heart." He was weary and he fell, but people were there to help lift him back up. In our spiritual race, we will fall. It's not if we fall, but when we fall. God didn't intend for us to be alone during this race. In 1 Thessalonians 5:11, Paul says, "Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up." Each stage of our lives is going to be different. Some stages require endurance more than others. During those times, we will need to lean more on support from our brothers and sisters to help us endure. I play basketball with my friends, and if I fall down, I know 100% of the time that one of them is coming back to help me up. And I would do the same for them because we're on the same team. If we surround ourselves with other Christians, then when we fall down, they will be there to help us back up. On or off the court, if any of my friends fall down, I hope they know that they can reach out to me and I can help them in any way possible. In Romans 12, Paul says, "Rejoice with those who rejoice and weep with those who weep. Be of the same minds towards one another." Hebrews 10:24, Paul says again, "And let's consider one another in order to stir up love and good works." We're all on the same team, and we all need each other. When the path is smooth, let us enjoy together the way God intended. But when the path gets rocky, let's make sure we help each other to better endure. Alright, this is my last point. In life, we are always looking for things to help us improve. For example, I'm always looking for things to help me be stronger and have more endurance. It might be new shoes, workout gear, protein powder, things like that. And all of this is great, but what can give us the ultimate strength and endurance? The answer, of course, is not what, but who, and that's God. God makes it easier. God makes it possible. There's all kinds of books that promise us how to run a better race, like Couch to 5K or How to Train for a Marathon. But we already know the greatest instruction book is the Bible. It tells us everything we need to know about running our spiritual race. Through His Word, we have the ultimate source of endurance for our race. It's all in there. We just have to read and keep focused. When I was younger, there was an activity we would used to do in Bible class. In this activity, we'd be in a large room or sometimes we'd even go outside. There would be a kid at one end of the room, and the teacher on the other end of the room. In between the kid and the teacher were all kinds of obstacles. We'd use chairs, tables, plants, whatever we could find. All the kid had to do was make his way across the room to the teacher. But the kid was blindfolded, so he had to listen to the teacher. She would say things like, take one large step forward, or take two small steps to the left, things like that. Doesn't sound too bad, right? But what I didn't tell you is what the other kids were doing. They were lined up on the sides of the room, trying to distract you. They would yell things like, "Don't go that way," or "Stop, you're about to fall." Sometimes, the blindfold kid would get distracted and start running into stuff. Sometimes, he would stop listening to the teacher altogether and start trying to do it on his own. But what he forgot was that although he couldn't see, the teacher could see. She saw the path very clearly and knew exactly how to tell him to go. She had all the power to help, and all the kid had to do was use it. In closing, I want to remind you of what waits for us at the end of the race. The finish line, the reward. Hebrews 10:36, Paul reminds us, "For you have need of endurance, so that after you have done the will of God, you may receive the promise." He promises us the reward. How's your path right now? I hope you're in a stage of your race where things are smooth and going good. Maybe it's not, though. It might be rocky right now, and maybe you hit some obstacles and you've fallen. Or tonight, you might not be running the Christian race. You might still be running the worldly race. He doesn't promise us it'll always be a smooth path, but he does promise us he'll help. If you aren't a Christian, don't leave here tonight without the hope of the finish line. Whatever your needs are, you have the opportunity right now to ask him for help. I pray that you do this as we stand to sing.